Welcome back, troglodytes, to the Trogly's Guitar Show. Yes, it's the infamous Firebird Zero. Everybody says this guitar sucks. Is it true? Let's find out. To premise this video, everybody's gonna have differing opinions on everything. Do not go by what some review says of something. I remember in high school, there was this one friend of mine who really upset me when I would invite him to come play a game or to let's go buy a game, and he would say, "Oh, it has terrible reviews, I'm not gonna get it." Try it for yourself, people. So the Firebird Zero is basically Gibson's attempt of having a budget line guitar within their Gibson brand. Now, we all know Gibson is the parent company of Epiphone, but, you know, some people just want the Gibson branding on the guitar, and that's what this offers. These are $499 new. They are assembled in the USA and have a set neck construction. Having a set neck is great because usually for cost savings, they don't do that. They'll do a bolt-on. So we have a poplar body, which is very interesting for a Gibson, but with a sweet maple neck. Now, maple necks were used in Gibson history from roughly 1976 through 1982-ish, so it's not new that a Gibson has a maple neck, but they don't use them as often as they used to. I was surprised to see they still have a rosewood fretboard on here instead of baked maple or one of their other rosewood alternatives. But overall, the specs are pretty impressive, so I can see why so many people were intrigued by these things. The pickups in these guitars are called DSCs, which I can only guess stands for decent single coils. Because if you grab this guitar thinking, I've got a humbucker, let's turn the gain on and rock, you are going to be sorely disappointed. I'll be honest, when I first got this guitar, I was like, yep, everybody was right. Everything about this guitar is terrible. It sounds bad. It plays okay at best. But then I sat it down. I came back to it the next day. I gave it a go again, and I started to realize that this is not the guitar I thought it was going to be. I did a recording session with it. I wasn't happy with how it turned out, so I did another one when I finally realized the true potential of this guitar. Now, I previously made a joke about DSC standing for decent single coil, and that's what this guitar is. This is not a humbucker. This is a Gibson Strat in disguise. These are ridiculously punchy sounding. They have a very similar sound to a single coil. I mean, listen to the neck. And listen to both of them on. This has very Strat-like qualities to it. Now, I read up on the Gibson website, and they say that these are really bitey pickups because they're double slugged. Now, that basically just means you can't adjust the pole pieces, and I'm sure there's some people that would see this as a bad thing, but these pickups are not garbage if you're looking for a Stratty clean sound. But I think what throws people off is they see these humbuckers and they think they're gonna get some metal machine out of this, and you're not. In fact, I do not suggest playing any type of heavy distortion with this guitar because it sounds terrible. However, if you use it with clean stuff like Chili Peppers or Foo Fighters material, I found this guitar actually is really good. Now, the bridge on these, they're pretty cheap. I guess some people have the issue of it tilting. This one doesn't seem to have that problem because it's just completely decked down to the body. And the action is as low as I would want it to be. This guitar is a little bit fret buzzy. I don't think we have perfectly level frets. However, it's not so bad that you can't play it. Now, here's where I was really surprised on this guitar. You don't have American pots in this guitar. They're Korean made. What? I saw that. I was like, that can't be right. Really, Gibson? But yes, they use Korean made pots on these guitars. It's not CTS stuff, so they might not be the best pots in the world. And these pickups are the quick connect style, and they connect directly to the three-way toggle switch. So being that these are quick connects, that makes it really convenient for somebody to switch out these pickups if you want less of a Stratty sounding guitar. So that's actually a really nice feature because a lot of people who are buying these are likely starting out. They don't really have the soldering experience. Something I noticed on this one when I had the pickguard off is that this metallic-y pickguard, it's only this pearl material on the top. It quickly switches to black, so that's a little bit cheap. And I noticed on this screw right here, the wood is actually cracked underneath there. I don't think Gibson should have sent it out like that, but what are you gonna do? The body design of this guitar is terrible. It's loosely based on a non-reverse Firebird. They're not quite the same. These are smaller and they're just kind of goofy looking. But once you start thinking that, hey, this is a Strat, this whole pokey horn that gets you really reminds you of a Strat. Now, I find sitting down, it's uncomfortable, but when you're playing it standing up, it's great. I think Gibson would have sold a crap ton load more of these if they just would have had the body this way, like a traditional Firebird. The headstock design on these is actually really good. All the strings line up pretty well straight along the nut, so that kind of helps with tuning stability. When I first got this guitar, these tuners, they weren't so good. When I pulled the strings off to change them and oil the fretboard up, I had found that these weren't even tightened down. They were just loose wobble. So after tightening these up, these were actually surprisingly good tuners. I didn't have to touch them too much, even after just putting new strings on. Something else that's a nice touch, just in case you want to do like some type of locking tuner, is they used a tuner that doesn't actually have like a screw to secure it. And that's good because if you do want to put Grovers or some type of Schallers on here, you won't have extra screw holes showing. Now let's talk about the finish of this guitar. This thing was offered in 11 different variations. There was Frost Blue, Pelham Blue, Faded Pelham, Heather, which is kind of a purple color,
hello?
Ebony and Ebony. The only difference is they had different colored pickguards. Blackberry, Black Cherry, Gold Mist Pearl, which is silver, and Cardinal Red. So that's a ton of options, but the only ones you ever see out there are these Pelham Blue looking ones because honestly, that's probably the color I would have chosen anyways. But this guitar has what they call a light gloss true nitro finish. What does that mean? It feels like a really crappy refinish job. This reminds me so much of that SG Melody Maker I had that was refinished. It's not quite fully glossy, but it doesn't have a matte feel either. It almost feels a little bit plasticky. I mean, it's not a terrible feeling finish. It's just like they didn't do the final protective gloss stage. So overall, is the Firebird Zero a big zero? Does it deserve all the hate it gets? No, it's just misunderstood. Grab this thing thinking you have a wonky Strat and you'll be very happy with it. $499 for this brand new with a gig bag. I agree, it's too high. The guitar is not perfect. You could put a little bit of work to make it better. But I think on the used value, the low end for these is $350. Your average value is $450. I think they're okay at that price. I really did enjoy my time with this guitar once I grew to understand its strengths. So now that we've learned and demystified the Firebird Zero, let's go ahead and hear how it sounds. Now that we know how this guitar sounds, let's go ahead and review its condition. Somebody really played this guitar before me, and I actually played it quite a bit myself, honestly. You've got quite a few string change scratches up here. That's caused because the original owner had the long strings left on it. I don't know why people like to do that, but it scratched it up a little bit. The truss rod is fully functional, doesn't even look like it's been touched. Original Tectoid nut with rosewood fretboard here. I just cleaned the frets and the fretboard, oiled them up, they're good to go. The frets aren't perfectly level. You do have some fret buzz. It's not over the top, but I don't want you to expect a perfect playing guitar up and down the neck. It has its buzzes, but it rings out everywhere the way it should. There is some very minor wear to the frets, kind of in the cowboy chord area. The guitar has its fair share of scratches and impressions. Because this finish doesn't really protect against anything, it definitely shows a lot. Now, something to go over here is since this bridge was decked down, due to its leaning tendencies, it's actually impressed into the wood and damaged the finish a little bit right here. You can kind of just barely see it when the bridge is on, but once it's off, it's definitely very apparent. But here you've got those impression marks and lines, but overall it's in decent shape. Back of the headstock, serial number 170924633, made in USA, 2017 model. You've got some light wear around the headstock, and you've got a really comfortable kind of a medium C neck profile. I would definitely classify it as a 60s style, but with just a little bit extra. I mean, it's not quite medium territory, but it's not quite super SG thin in my opinion either. You've got a little bit of figuring to it, but I wouldn't really call it a flamed neck or anything. Back of the guitar here, you can see what it should have looked like. I wish they would have done a reverse Firebird shape instead of non-reverse, but hey, what can you do? So you've got some nicks and dings on the back, but overall it maintains a fairly clean appearance. There are a few areas on the side here where the finish has chipped all the way through to the poplar body. So you don't have to be scared to play this one. I don't think these will ever become collector's items, but I'm guessing these might become kind of a cult classic for somebody who wants a stratty, weird sounding guitar. Because look at the S1 and the Marauder. They're Strat and Tele clones, and here they are 40 years later starting to become popular. Another thing I like about this body is this comfort carve right here. It's kind of just like the fin of a Strat, so once again, even more Strat-like. We'll take a look under Blacklight. It doesn't really glow like the normal nitro finishes do. I mean, it's got a little bit of a glow to it. But since it doesn't have that final clear coat, I don't know if these finishes will actually age or not. Now here you can see the neck will. The neck has a more traditional feeling, slightly gloss neck, but not over the top. Here you can see where there's either a capo or a stand that left some rash marks on it. You can't really see that under normal lighting situations. No breaks, cracks, or repairs to this guitar. It is all original and ready to be played. Now, unfortunately, Gibson only issued these with gig bags, and it's not really worth upgrading them to a case, because adding a case would basically raise the price by 33%. So the bag, it shows some light wear and tear. You've got a zipper compartment there, so you can store your strap and whatnot. The inside reminds me of like a cheap hospital bed, but it is padded and protects the guitar okay. If you think you might be interested in being the next owner of this Firebird Zero, feel free to contact me on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Troglys, Troglys. Thank you, Troglytes, for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.